Five Boxes by Disha Gunchagunte. A, B, C. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Not easy is it to understand the thoughtful but ignorant, productive but destructive, kind but selfish, crowned race of humanity. Contradicting are these terms that describe the ever-beings sitting around us. Yet when it comes to me, it's easy to see. 5 boxes to check off, describing me. White, fitted sheets, afraid to step out into the light of day. Giggling giddy gay, CEO. African American, running, fleeing, desperate, shunned, not say a word. Asian American, second in command, software. Native American, a drum beat, beat, beat again. Pacific Islander, neglected, abandoned, who? 5 boxes, 5 checks, and you think you know me? No. Let me dream my dreams and let my actions define me. 5 boxes, 5 checks, and you don't know me. A, B, C, do, re, mi. A, B, C, baby, it's you and me, babe.
racist cops have got to go! Ho ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey!
Ho ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho ho! These racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho ho! These racist cops have got to go!
There are people in the world who will take a great deal of trouble to point out the faults in a religion or a language and then go blandly about their business without suggesting any remedy. I am not that kind of person. I have shown that the German language needs reforming. Very well. I am ready to reform it. At least I am ready to make the proper suggestions. Such a course as this might be immodest in another, but I have devoted upward of 9 full weeks, first and last, to the careful and critical study of this tongue, and thus have acquired a confidence in my ability to reform it, which no mere superficial culture could have conferred upon me. In the first place, I would leave out the dative case. It confuses the plurals, and besides, nobody ever knows when he is in the dative case, except he discover it by accident, and then he does not know when or where it was that he got into it, or how long he has been in it, or how he is ever going to get out of it again. The dative case is but an ornamental folly. It is better to discard it. In the next place, I would move the verb further up to the front. You may load up with ever so good a verb, but I notice that you never really bring down a subject with it at the present German range. You only cripple it. So I insist that this important part of speech should be brought forward to a position where it may be easily seen with the naked eye. Thirdly, I would import some strong words from the English tongue, to swear with, and also to use in describing all sorts of vigorous things in vigorous ways. Verdammt and its variations and enlargements are words which have plenty of meaning, but the sounds are so mild and ineffectual that German ladies can use them without sin. German ladies who could not be induced to commit a sin by any persuasion or compulsion promptly rip out one of these harmless little words when they tear their dresses or don't like the soup. It sounds about as wicked as our "my gracious." German ladies are constantly saying, "Ach, Gott, mein Gott, Gott in Himmel, Herrgott, der Herr Jesus," etc. They think our ladies have the same custom, perhaps, for I once heard a gentle and lovely old German lady say to a sweet young American girl, "The languages are so alike."
The two languages are
How
so
pleasant
alike.
that
How
is.
pleasant that
We
is.
say,
We say,
"Ah,
ah,
God."
God. You
You
say, God damn. Fourthly, I would recognize the sexes and distribute them accordingly to the will of the Creator. This is a tribute of respect, if nothing else. Fifthly, I would do away with those great long compounded words or require the speaker to deliver them in sections, with intermissions for refreshments. To wholly do away with them would be best, for ideas are merely easily received and digested when they come one at a time than when they come in bulk. Intellectual food is like any other. It is pleasanter and more beneficial to take it with a spoon than with a shovel. Sixthly, I would require a speaker to stop when he is done, and not hang a string of those useless haben, sin, gewesen, gab, haben, geworden scenes to the end of his oration. This sort of gewgaws indignified speech instead of adding a grace. They are therefore an offense and should be discarded. Seventhly, I would discard the parenthesis. Also, the re-parenthesis and the re-parenthesis, and then the re-parenthesis, and likewise the final wide-reaching, all-enclosing king parenthesis. I would require every individual, be he high or low, to unfold a plain, straightforward tale, or else coil it and sit on it and hold his peace. Infractions of this law should be punishable with death. And eighthly, and last, I would retain Zug and Schlag with their penance and discard the rest of the vocabulary. This would simplify the language. I have now named what I regard as the most necessary and important changes. These are perhaps all I could be expected to name for nothing, but there are other suggestions which I can and will make in case my proposed application shall result in my being formally employed by the government in the work of reforming the language. My philological studies have satisfied me that a gifted person ought to learn English, bearing, spelling, and pronouncing in 30 hours, French in 30 days, and German in 30 years. It seems manifest then that the latter tongue ought to be trimmed down and repaired. If it is to remain as it is, it ought to be gently and reverently set aside among the dead languages, for only the dead have time to learn it.
Is it all right?
Well, you see, it is this way. Oh, Mrs., that's Miss Watson. She pecks on me all the time and treats me pretty rough. But she always say she would sell me down New Orleans. But I noticed there was a nigger trade around these place considerably lately, and I began to get uneasy. Well, one night I creeps to do the pretty late, and the do weren't quite shut on. I hear old Mrs. tell the why does she go on sell me down to New Orleans, but she didn't want to, but she could get $800 for me, and it's such a big stack of money she couldn't resist. The widow, she tried to get her to say she would do it, but I never waited to hear the rest. I lit out mighty quick, I tell you. I took out shun down the hill, expect to steal a skiff long to show. Summers above the town, but they was people a-stirring yet. So I hid the old tumble-down cooper shop on the bank to wait for everybody to go away. Well, I was there all night. There was somebody around all the time. Long, about 6 in the morning. Skiffs begin to go by, and about 8 or 9, every skiff that went long was talking about how you, Pap came over to the town and say, you's killed. These last skiffs was full of ladies and gentlemen are going over for to see the place. Sometimes they pull up at the show and take a rest before they start across. So by they talk, I got to know all about they killing. I was powerful. Sorry, you killed, Huck. But I ain't no more now. I laid under the shavings all day. I was hungry, but I weren't afeared, 'cause I know old Mrs. Underwater gone start the camp meeting right after breakfast and be gone all day. And they knows I goes off with the cattle about daylight, so they wouldn't expect to see me round the place, and so they would miss me till after dark in the evening. The other servants wouldn't miss me, 'cause they shin out and take holidays soon as the old folks was out in the way. Well, when it come dark, I tuck up the river road and went about 2 mile or more, to where they weren't no houses. I'd made up my mind about what I was going to do. You see, if I kept on trying to get away afoot, the dogs would track me. If I stole a skiff to cross over, they'd miss that skiff. You see, and they'd know about what I'd land on the other side and what to pick up my track. So I says, a raft is what I'd alter. It don't make no track. I see a lighter coming round. It pant me by, so I wade and shove a log ahead of me. And swung more halfway across that river and got in most the driftwood and keep my head down low and kinda swung again the current till the rift come along. Then I swum to the swern of it and took a holt. It clouded up until pretty dark for a little while. So I climbed up and laid down on the planks. The men is all way yonder in the middle, where the Latin was. The river was a-rising and it was a good current, so I reckon at by 4 in the morning, I'd be 25 miles down the river, and then I'd slip in just 'fore daylight and swim ashore and take the woods on the Illinois side. But I ain't had no luck. When we was most down the head of the island, a man began to come after with the lantern. I see it wasn't no use for to wait, so I slid overboard and stuck out for the island when I had nothing, a notion I could land most anywheres, but I couldn't. Bank to bluff. I was most the foot of the island before I found a good place. I went into the woods and judged I wouldn't fool with rafts no more, long as they moved the Latin round so. I had my pipe and my plug of dog leg and some matches in my cap, and they weren't wet, so I was all right.